Smart Guy, Viva BarnesLaw.locals.com, the Viva Fry Show on X. Fry is F-R-E-I. Be sure and follow him. Everybody knows who he is. Now, I want to finish up on the Trump thing and where this is going on. We had a whole bunch of other big subjects with you, obviously, and the Iran war and more. But here is an AI video. I woke up at 5 a.m. this morning, slept in today, and I go to the trends on X. The top thing was this AI video. And I noticed like half the people thought it was real, but this is basically what the general public, I think, not a consensus, but a majority do think this is what happened, and that Trump wanted to play victim. Listen, I'm a critic of Trump when I got something real I can prove, but I just can't, because something's popular, go along with it and say it and agree with it, that, okay, then we know for sure Trump was part of this to play hero. There are a bunch of Democrats who want to kill him. I've had people trying to kill me. There is political violence from them, so you can't just discount that. Here's the short AI video that basically used real video composites, and it is very convincing that you're like reading Trump's mind. Here it is.
What the f is this Israeli magician talking about? Will he shut the f up already? Any minute now. Come on, I need this ballroom. Where's the damn assassin? Finally. Works every time.
Come on, Spider Cash. Now's your time to shine. I can't do it. Not tonight. Not tonight.
Don't look at her. Do not look at her, Bobby. I'm finally free. This is it. Sweet freedom.
Butter chicken, tikka masala, biryani, naan, samosa, tandoori chicken, curry, dal vindaloo, palak paneer.
Obviously, that's a joke, but I saw people acting like it was real or thinking, yes, oh, this is the truth. Now, here's that clip I mentioned of the Fox reporter who is sitting with Caroline Leavitt's husband. She's up on the stage, and he says, hey, you got to be really careful tonight. Then her phone cuts out, and people think, oh, that's a conspiracy. Well, if you're watching all the shows that night, there were so many people on the phone, they were all cutting out. But they need to answer the question now, because this is out, because this could be serious. What did you hear was coming? You know, was there a stand down? Here's the clip.
I want to just quickly tell you, I was sitting next to Caroline Leavitt, the press secretary's husband. He was one of our guests. He was seated right next to me. And, right as the dinner was starting, the national anthem happened. And then he kind of leaned over and said, I watched you on TV, you do a great job. You need to be very safe. And he was just very serious when he said that to me. And he kind of looked around the room and he said, there are some...
Sounds like we lost Aisha's phone there. And this happens, by the way, especially when you have so many people attempting to utilize the same cell service at the same time. I did want to add this while we had a moment.
And then I checked. We never found out what she was going to say. Viva Fry, I think she needs to go public. We need to hear what Caroline Leavitt's husband said.
Yeah, but they're stating the obvious. I mean, it's true. It's always true. And whenever you go out, people say, be safe, keep your head on a swivel. These are things that people say at all events, especially when there's an event that the president is present at. I mean, the reality is, I would imagine they're talking more like when you go walk among the protesters, you people who are of the conservative right.
Here's something that I just want to point out real quick as somebody that's experienced this. For when it comes to like all types of investigations and pretty much whenever anything happens, and again, I have experienced this firsthand with investigations in line of work that I've done for a long time. People always believe that there's something else. There has to be more. There needs to be no matter how mundane the case is, no matter how mundane the situation is, no one ever thinks that that's just what it is. And this is just, we've just come to this point in our society. It's twofold. One, it gets a lot of clicks. Once you say conspiracy theory and you start railing against what whatever somebody is showing you, it generates traffic. That's just a fact. So the problem is that while there may be many conspiracies, where there may be many theories out there that are not the prescribed narrative, to call everything not real muddies the waters to the point where now we can't delineate between what's actually true and what's not. Like in a scenario like this was a crazy guy who ran in there. Could there be more to it? Maybe there's some more. Maybe somebody helped him out. Maybe whatever. That's all possible. But to say that the individual, to say that it was staged or whatever, it's just, you just start acting crazy. You're just muddying the waters, and nothing at this point going forward is going to be able to come to light, because nobody's going to believe anything.
have no, identifiable faces. There's protesters across the street. You're going to have to go mingle with these people, and they want to harm you. Trump and JD.
Sure, we're not trying to cover up a conspiracy. We're going with the most logical Occam's razor thing. Maybe it's something else, but exactly, this is a dangerous place to be. They've told Trump it's too dangerous, don't do it. Here he is in a low security environment. I would be concerned too.
That's the major issue. I mean, you presume they cordon off the area, but and I go back to the Charlie Kirk Memorial, where the biggest deterrent was that they made everybody walk in for the last mile or 2 miles from the event, and that's a deterrent for bad faith actors, car bombs, and etc. But people can stake things out the night before. You're dealing with a highly populated area that doesn't seem to be closed off to the public except for the 2 floors of the event. And there are many, many ways to stage something, stage it not in the sense of artificial, to coordinate an event, to have a series of events, an explosion, and then many more than one person.
Let's raise it. You could have a hotel employee. This was months out announced. Could decide to do it. What if a police officer? Look at who killed Anwar Sadat. Was one of the military in the parade. That shows the esprit de corps. Our military and police aren't perfect, but the fact of the vetting process that we don't see cops and Secret Service killing presidents. Imagine if we were like an Islamic country. That's a regular deal.
But that was my thought as well. If they're going to do it, I don't know who makes the food for the president. I presume he's got his own separate meal. But even the staff, the hotel, the bottom line, it was an extremely exposed area, and probably not ideal to have number one and number two under the same roof at the same time when there are agitators across the street and known threats. One thing, just to get back to Larry Johnson's statement earlier on, where people were saying, look at how J.D. Vance out 20 seconds before Trump. My retort to that is, whatever happens, you're going to criticize it. Someone might say they took Trump out and they didn't even know if they were taking him into a secure or more dangerous spot. So, the idea that they didn't rush him off stage, where are they going to rush him to? They don't yet know exactly where the threat is coming from and if they're moving him into a more dangerous spot.
Well, then Trump minutes later pushed back to the entrance behind the curtains to the stage, and they go, oh, look, he knew it wasn't a threat. No, it turns out he was saying, no, we're having the event go forward.
We're in the realm of no matter what happens, people are going to say it's staged. No matter what happens, they're going to interpret it in the way to fuel their foregone conspiracy theories. There are good faith actors who sincerely don't believe and want to try to understand. There are legitimate bad faith
and that's totally fine.
Like
if you're a good faith actor, but that's not what's going on. The majority of it is just people that are trying to generate traffic, which again, this generates a ton of traffic. If you are going against something that is a foregone conclusion, it's just something that people just want the salaciousness. People want the story. People want they just want more. And sometimes it's not more. Sometimes it just is what it is. So you just have to be careful with this, because I see a lot of people that I know that are actually very intelligent, that are very smart. They're good people, and they just cannot see things for face value. There's always something underlying what's going on, and you want to make sure you don't get yourself into that, because it's something that it's just very captivating. It is, and that's why it gets all the clicks that it does.
And I believe that there are a number of funded agitators who are out there spreading conspiracy theories.
Sure.
On the one hand,
so how do we navigate this? Because now the Great Awakening is here, but it has this weird derivative or blowback in that some people just don't believe anything. And you're right. Let me take on the other side. Laura Loomer attacked me a whole bunch in huge posts. They got millions of views saying, Jones says it's totally staged. He's scum. And she knew full well I was saying the opposite, but she just did that because I'm on the target list, and she obviously works for Israel in my view. And so with her, she now lies out of hand. She's always been crazy, but but imagine lying, and even when people countered her with hundreds of posts saying, no, he says it's real, she just kept doubling down. Like, what is that cuckoo town?
Well, first of all, it's also the price that comes with notoriety. For our Sunday show with Robert Barnes, and I put in the title was Another Attempt on Trump, and I put a question mark just as in say like a hyperbolic, oh my God, another attempt on Trump. And then people interpreted from that title before the show even started that I was somehow undermining it or saying it was staged, when the number one thing people can do is just take 24 hours and wait until the news comes in before saying the day of the Charlie Kirk assassination, Israel just shot Charlie Kirk. But you are now a target, Alex, in terms of a political target where no one's going to give you the benefit of the doubt. And so you have to make sure that no one's going to even take for granted that you make a joke. They're going to pretend it was a serious statement. But the attacks coming out, and Laura Loomer came out and blamed it on Joe Kent. And I'm like, first of all, I said, Joe Kent has been out of the administration for a month. Kash Patel, in his lawsuit against The Atlantic last week, was touting the successes of the FBI in terms of having taken down these domestic terrorist organizations. And it's just motivated reasoning. You know, when I was younger, I used to play golf with my dad, and I would often be in the woods. And he says, you know, like whenever you're in the woods looking for your golf ball, anything that's white is going to catch your attention, and you're going to think anything that's white is your ball. When you are arguing from conclusions, you are going to just take something and jam it into fitting your conclusions. People hate Joe Kent. We still don't know what the classified information that he leaked was. I mean, we still don't know if he was under investigation. But set that aside, that defamation campaign is already long past. To blame it on Joe Kent, who also, from what I understand, in the post-God community noted, was involved in international counterterrorism, not domestic counterterrorism. But you have Kash Patel literally in that Atlantic defamation lawsuit, touting the successes of the FBI. And if it's anybody's fault, and I don't even think it's Kash Patel's fault, because the security rose to the level of the threat for this occasion.
The point is, it is preposterous to blame Joe Kent. It's like absolutely insane.
It is like all roads lead to the foregone conclusion that you want to keep getting out, keep beating this dead horse, make Joe Kent public enemy number one because of the politics behind it. It was
because he dares to challenge who I believe is our obvious employer, Netanyahu.
Because he dares to say what he thinks is the right thing to do, despite it being politically unpopular. And I had Joe Kent on shortly after that, and I did ask him at the time. I said, like, you knew that what you were doing was going to be politically damaging. Why decide to do it that way? Because whether or not
he said in his letter, he said, "I'm doing it to get Trump to course correct."
Yeah, I mean, because there have been other members of the administration that have left, and I said, they're not going to make a stink, and they're not going to make a statement that's going to undermine the administration that they want to succeed. And Joe Kent obviously thinks this was the way to do it, to force a course correction, to cause this administration to succeed.
Hey, why do you think I said 25th Amendment if he wants to destroy whole civilization overnight? Didn't mean 25th Amendment. It means if he keeps doing it. I knew Trump would come after me. I knew a lot of listeners would hate me for it, but we had to stop total war. I mean, that's our job.
Well, the amazing thing is, first of all, when I say they don't give the enemy the benefit of the doubt, and they wouldn't take a hyperbolic statement as hyperbole, they'll take it as a literal statement of fact. You knew you were walking into it when I heard that ring out. Like, oh, that's it. They're gonna pretend it was not hyperbolic, totally serious. After trying to stage a coup, and that's how you do it. After all, you publicly broadcast it to tens of millions of people. But when I had on someone from the the very much the pro Iran side, and I'm like, if that tweet, and the argument is that tweet was never meant to be literally, so you can't. You can't read into the loss of faculties that way. And I said, well, if it was intended to be serious, and if it was intended to be literal, would you then hypothetically contemplate the 25th Amendment? And then they say, well, no, not really. We have to go through Congress, and we do everything else, except for invoking the 25th.
I said it when I said it. It was to get Trump's attention.
Well, first of all, even when you said it, and the people ragging on Barnes, even when you said it as a hyperbolic, statement, Barnes came out and said, no, it's even harder than impeachment. You're not going to 25th if you can't impeach. So what you likely need to do is get some form of, another form of intervention.
Yeah, put Trump in a straitjacket, which was hyperbole to get his attention.
Look, you're never going to get the benefit of the doubt when it comes to those types of statements. But the bottom line, at the time,
I made the statement again. If he starts saying a whole civilization dies tonight, never to return, and all the Israeli pundits are saying use nukes, I will come out and say it again. I knew exactly what I was doing. I didn't build up a giant audience to do all this to sit around on the sidelines. I'm trying to do good work. And that's the whole point of this is just groveling to Trump and his worst advisors is the worst course. We need to be all hands on deck on his ass, getting him back on the straight and narrow.
Well, I mean, that is, back in the...
And that seems to be his mission right now. And I really hope it's working. I know a lot of people have been very hard on Alex, but on the whole, he's not a sycophant, right? He tries to call balls and strikes, at least how I see it. He's not always right. He does some things that are we can say wrong or we don't like or whatever, or I don't like speak in the eye. But however, he does seem like this is the time he needs to push back, and he did it. And he wasn't just on the Trump train. He wasn't just following the course and just doing. He sees what's going on. He sees the error in what he believes are Trump's current ways, with the current people that he has around him, influencing him in a certain particular way. And he's railing against it. So this is about halfway through his last show. It's about an hour and a half in. It's a 4-hour show, so that's why I just take some random interesting clips in the middle to give you guys some bite-sized Alex Jones portions. Let me know if you guys like that. Please subscribe to the channel. Helps me out a lot. And I'll see you on the next episode, guys. Take care.